Indian Scott digging through the past. Crazy tales they uncover fast. History stranger than you think. They'll also talk about wieners in a blink. They'll talk about wieners in a blink. Oddball History.
Boom, 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 boom. We're back.
How?
Welcome to the Whack.
Welcome back to the podcast.
We had our first, we started recording and it didn't record. So we're doing the beginning of this again. You
Is
have
that
no
the thing? You remember you do a sound effect like you were rewinding? I don't think I did.
I think that was a DJ sound.
Sure.
You could do the Jim Carrey. Remember that from Ace Ventura?
No, it's been years since I've seen Ace Ventura, I gotta admit.
Okay, but so today we are doing the Catholic Church. We are doing a funny roundup of saints with silly stories.
Yeah, wacky saint stories.
Wacky.
And a lot of them are pretty wacky.
They are pretty wacky.
Very violent and
Violent and deadly.
lots of hyper violent executions, and
You don't become a martyr without getting martyred.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a part of it.
know.
And so Catholic podcast, we will not be discussing any of the whoopsie-daisies of the Catholic Church.
None of the whoopsie daisies uncovered by the Boston Globe in
None
that
of them.
famous movie.
Yep, not a one of them.
We're not touching that with a stick. Not because we're opposed to it ourselves, but because the Instagram algorithm would really fuck us in the ass.
They don't like talking about it.
They're going to fuck us in the ass for me saying fuck us in the ass right now.
The YouTube numbers might dip down for having 7 fuck us in the asses at the very top. Could we edit it out? Sure.
Well,
will we? Probably not.
Excuse us.
Yeah, just
that's
fuck us
what
in
we
the
say
ass
to
already.
the algorithm.
But first, the top comments.
Comments of the week.
We're going to ask Luminant 5 AI to write some Catholic jokes. See if they touch the whoopsie-daisies. We'll never know.
They might. We're not going to stifle them creatively.
God, no.
Not like the algorithm does to us.
Welcome to the top comments brought to you by Oddball History. But first, some jokes written by me, AI. Why did the Catholic Church start a gardening club? Because they wanted to weed out the bad habits. You see, the church is known for its traditions and rituals, much like a gardener tending to their plants. Why did the Catholic priest bring a ladder to Mass? Because he heard the sermon was going to be uplifting. This joke plays on the idea of a sermon being so inspiring that it might just lift you off your feet. Now for those top comments.
All right, so the first top comment, I love this one just because I had to translate it from a Cyrillic language. I think it was Russian. And we got a lot of old comments on our 20 episodes ago, the Elvis Presley episode.
People are still mad about it.
And they were fired up then, and they're still fired up because we poke fun at his creepy relationship with his child bride, Priscilla.
Yeah.
Whenever you throw the word child bride around.
Yeah.
Hey, come on, probably something we could poke fun at 50 years later, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So she's still around.
Yeah, she's fine. Look.
But this guy was pretty even-handed, understood the situation, wasn't too critical of Priscilla, understood her side as a victim in this whole thing.
Sure.
So he goes, where is the morality? Is it because he was a world-class star and she is a girl from a large, poor family who really wanted to fulfill her ambitions through a celebrity to get into Hollywood? She did it by ruining the future of Presley himself. And now she is bathing in luxury and money, thanks to him. But who is she herself, and what has she achieved in life? Nothing, all caps. She only makes money in the name of Presley. She would sell pies at the bazaar if it weren't for Presley. Even-handed, reasonable man just commenting on a YouTube clip.
Yep. She'd be selling pies at the bazaar.
I've saved this one because I thought that was the most Russian insult I've ever heard.
It's wildly Russian. It's so...
I might have to start using it.
Yeah.
Imagine a heckler and be like, oh, well, you'd be selling pies at the bazaar.
Yeah. I don't come down to the bazaar and knock the pies out of your hand. That's hilarious, though. And also, I like that he's like, she ruined his future. It wasn't like all the insane amount of drugs and
he had
40 peanut full loaves of bread stuffed with PB&J and bacon that he was just housing
Yeah.
several of it. And then he's sweaty everywhere he goes and
Yeah.
making people watch him do karate.
It reminds me of the Norm Macdonald joke when
What part of that is Priscilla's fault?
what was the alligator hunter's name?
Oh, Steve Irwin.
When he goes, Steve Irwin, alligator hunter, dies
Crocodile.
at the young age, crocodile hunter. And Norm goes, well, it seems like a ripe old age for a crocodile hunter.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, Elvis had a good run for a big fat drug-addled man. You know? He
Who
was
drove
doing good.
around the streets of Memphis at night looking for criminals to apprehend.
Yeah, check out
I
the
mean,
Elvis Presley karate wife.
For a man with those interests, he made it a good long while.
His wife left him for Mike Stone, the hottest karate man in town.
That's right.
So,
He was a badass.
and then more people were commenting on Elvis stuff. Is this guy got mad at me, and he goes, yes, and the only person he ever married, talking about Priscilla, and her father was a general at his base. They met and talked at a party and listened to music together when they first met. And also,
I like the credit for the only person he ever married. He was fucking other women constantly the entire time. But yes, wow.
He
what
was a
guy.
committed man.
What a man.
they were a beautiful married couple. Sure, he
Yeah.
had some gumas on the side. Who didn't back then?
Yeah.
You know? But, and also, please don't make it sound like it was oh so inappropriate of a relationship. Priscilla said so herself one time, that they hadn't done anything except for a few kisses before they were married. And even then, they got married when she was 20, inappropriate age, and not, all caps, a child bride.
Whoa. You told us.
Yeah. So let's see if...
Now there's just the rest of the world to convince that she wasn't a child bride, and you will have done it.
I do like the line of reasoning of just like, yeah, she was a kid. They were just a hugging and a kissing.
Yeah.
You know, leave them be.
It was like a light makeout, some over the clothes hand stuff.
OTP
What do you
HJs.
want?
What are you going to do? Now, we had our clip about Rommel going through the Erwin Rommel, Nazi general.
Yeah, the hospital, and then he
Yeah.
was like, oh, these are allies, and then he slowly backed away.
Now, you know that I'm partial to a good dad joke or a punny situation.
Of course.
And this guy goes, did not see that coming. Nazi? Huh?
Nice.
And then he even goes, apologies. I like
love
it.
I love
he
it.
understands what's happening.
Yep.
God bless
Points.
you. X dug at X.
I said points like if you don't remember, there used to be a show called At Midnight with Chris Hardwick.
You just
and he
did
would say
stand-up
points.
standoff, which was kind of similar to that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You're going to be on it now.
Yeah. Then someone else on that video.
Plug. Go see
Plug it.
stand-up standoff.
Yeah, December 28th. We'll talk about it later.
DCC.
One guy on that same clip of asking about the Erwin Rommel story goes, what theater did this happen in? And I just loved that there was multiple comments. One was correct, North Africa. And another one just said Regal Cinemas.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then, let's see. This guy commented also on the Rommel. We got a lot of comments on the Rommel video.
Yeah, that one was going around.
TDI Arms commented, there's a book called The Ghost Commander about the SAS in Africa. And this is a true story. SAS raided a Nazi base on Christmas. They entered the base and it was empty. They suddenly heard singing from the mess hall. They bust in, 6 guys in camo, machine guns ready, as they see about 50 Germans celebrating. As they noticed the full weapon racks that they put their weapons on after entering the mess hall, that they were all unarmed, they mowed them all down. Merry Christmas.
What a story.
It was a heartwarming clip we posted.
yeah.
He goes, you want to hear another heartwarming Christmas story?
Hell yeah.
Sometimes war happens at war. Mm-hmm. Now we've said our whoops-a-daisies joke about the Catholic Church, and we've been talking about Elvis, but this is about the 7 Brides for 7 Brothers clip.
Yeah, our famous Seven
musical.
Brides for 7 Brothers clip.
7 mountainous red-haired men come down and kidnap 7 women to be their brides.
Yeah, actually 6, because I didn't realize
One was already, yeah.
which is that's one of my favorite comments that I've got a few of. Is they're like, it was 7 brides for 7 brothers, and I haven't, but I wanna just really lash out at them and be like, you idiot, you don't know the movie. It was one of the brothers was already married to one of the brides.
Yeah.
You fucking
dumb bitch.
bonehead.
Yeah.
You fool.
Yeah, you're not going to fuck me in the ass on this
You
one.
don't know 7 brides or something.
But this guy commented on it because they kidnapped all these ladies and took them to the mountains. But it turns out to be a heartwarming story.
Yeah, it's okay. And also, the one mitigating factor, too, is that it does make it a little better. I didn't realize at the time that they had met the women once before. So they all had, like, a woman that there was kind of a romantic spark there, at least, that they were kidnapping.
Then you kidnap
But
them.
they still were kidnapping them.
Yeah.
They're still, like, throwing sheets over their heads and carrying them away.
But this guy had a really, I thought, thoughtful and thought-provoking comment on that, of us criticizing that. So he goes, it's not a crime spree. Back then, men were men and women were women. Each knew their role, and regardless of how it was done, the women were not R-worded. He said it. Stop trying to apply this current sick world to the era of our grandparents.
Which was not sick in any way. You dumb bitch. That's the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard in my life. You are a dumb bitch.
That is a Claudine Hall. That could be a lady. That's funny.
Well, in that case, I'm sorry for the B words, but
Yeah, we thought you were a
the
male
rest
bitch.
of it stands.
We
The
sorry
rest of
for
it-
her gendered insults. Yeah, Claudine.
Our grandparents' times? That was preposterous. Get out of
Dude,
here.
quit being weird about them kidnapping those ladies, all right?
Yeah.
They fell in love at the end.
Yeah.
The men were men, all right?
Yeah.
Weren't afraid to take a lady. But okay, that's it for the top comments of the week. Now we will dig. I'll go first. We both have 7 saints we're going to talk about. And so the first saint I got
Let's get into these saints.
was Saint Drogo, the patron saint of homely people and coffee.
Yep. He was a no-go.
He was
a no-go.
literally the
We can say
story
it.
is that he was just so ugly. They were like, holy shit.
Wow, man.
This guy hadn't killed himself yet. You're a saint now?
Yeah.
Which he was in 12th century France, and he was deformed in some way. So he was just a hermit that herded sheep.
Yes, was he one of the ones that was an anchorite? That was a new word I learned.
Yeah.
Anchorites, they would live in like a small room attached to a church and never go out, and that was it was best for everyone. They felt that's what you did if you were.
That's the uggos and the guys that do whoopsie-daisies. You just put them in the anchorites.
You hang out with sheep and live in this tiny room attached to the church.
There's a room we're giving you. Just stay out of sight for a while.
Yeah, very funny though that patron saint of homely people. Like imagine someone gives you a pendant of a saint, and they're like,
hey, I thought of the perfect saint for you.
thought of that.
No, it's about the coffee part.
It's about the coffee.
The coffee.
Thing.
The coffee thing.
It's not because of your horrendous looks.
I also like the just the use of the word homely.
Yeah.
It's old timey. It sounds more polite.
It is.
Than uggo. Which
It
I
is
think,
more polite.
But yeah.
It's better than them being like, you're a patron saint of the uggos, of the fugly.
You're the patron saint of the dog face.
The patron saint of those who are UGLY and have no alibi.
Hey, what's your first one?
All right, I'm going to get us started here with Saint Barbara. All right, she was 3rd century Christian saint and martyr living in Roman Phoenicia. The deal with her was she was supposed to she was a Christian, and she wasn't. Her father was not having it.
Yeah.
So eventually, she was arrested, and they sentenced her to be beheaded. And her own father did the beheading, and then he left. He was walking out of beheading his daughter, presumably being like, that was not pleasant, but had to be done. And then he walked out, and he gets struck by lightning and killed immediately.
Yeah.
Which goes to show how holy Saint Barbara was. And she is now patron saint of lightning, of course, and also fireworks and firefighters.
Which I do like, where they're like, oh, if you pray to her, you won't get just violently murdered by fire and explosions.
Yep.
All right, my next one is a Saint Fiacre, French fella.
Fiacre?
Fiacre.
I was wondering how you say it.
Now this one, I felt
I was
bad
guessing
for him.
Fiacre.
Yeah,
Fiacre.
I had to Google it to
Hell
see
yeah.
how to pronounce it. Fiacre. Now, he was a healer with herbs, and so what does before doctors were prevalent, what is a medicine man, a healer? What does he become the patron saint of? He's the patron saint of hemorrhoids, venereal disease, and cab drivers. Which I like to imagine those are all interconnected in some way. Cab drivers, they're sitting for a long time.
Yes.
You got to adjust a lot. A lot of pressure. It's not good for you.
Yes. I read a thing about him too.
Yeah.
He had an altercation with a non-believer once. And I guess that he was like really frustrated. He sat down heavily on a stone, and he sat down so heavily that his butt cheeks made an imprint in the stone. And then afterwards, hemorrhoids sufferers and acne sufferers, they said, could be cured by going and sitting where Fiacre had sat.
Yeah, beautiful. He's out
beautiful?
there. He's out there healing folks.
You got to just go wiggle around in his ass groove.
You gotta wonder, who makes these decisions of who gets what patron saint thing, or it's just is he lobbying for himself? He's just like, hey, can I do cancer or something, like one of the good medicine ones?
Yeah.
And he has descendants that are like, how about orphans? Can he do orphans? And they're like, you're gonna get hemorrhoids.
Can I be the patron saint of chesty babes? Fiacre was he was way into tits. He was a tits man.
You gotta be.
That was his only unsaintly quality. he was like
everything else. He was just he was Christ-like in many ways, except for his love of big-tittied women.
He was like that security guard from Nathan For You. Do you remember that? He was like, I do get distracted by busty women. That was his. Oh man. It's been too long since I've watched Nathan For You
is so funny.
It's the funniest. All right, my next one, Simeon the Stylite. He was a Syrian Christian ascetic who lived between 390 and 459. A Stylite, what those guys was you would live on top of a pillar, so you would not be tempted by the world, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It was basically so you could be away from everyone, so you could pray and do your Christian asceticism better.
Yeah. Which in 100 years, you know who we could see as a patron saint? David Blaine.
David Blaine.
He's done this. He
has-
was a Stylite.
Yeah. Well,
done it.
He doesn't have these numbers though. Simeon did it. He was up there from between 35 and 42 years. He lived on top on a platform on top of on a pillar. And I read one account that said he fell off, but I think the accepted version is that he died up there.
Yeah.
He just didn't make it.
You gotta wonder if people are talking to him,
42
if they're
years.
shouting up, like, "Hey,
come down here,
Simon!"
Hey, oh yeah. Apparently that was a thing. People would come and bother him and ask for prayers. So they had to build a wall around his pillar.
And then we have Saint Bibiana. She's the patron saint of hangovers. Now we're getting another good Roman execution with a very loosely attaching thing where she was, they obviously were executing Christians and things for a lot of Roman history. And she was tortured. She was tied to a pillar. Maybe Simeon was up there living his life.
He was like, who's down there? Hey, don't execute people against my pillar.
Not on my pillar. And then he wouldn't come down, so they did it anyway. She was tied to a pillar, beaten, and then left to be eaten by carrion. And she was someone her sympathizers took her body in the night and buried it. And they said near her gravesite, herbs grew that would cure a headache and hangovers. So she became the patron saint of hangovers.
Hell yeah.
So, God bless.
Yeah.
Also, if you get a candle with her on it, your family thinks you have a problem.
Yeah, they think you're a drunk.
Yeah.
They definitely. And that does not sound pleasant.
No.
I'll be honest.
I got an extra.
Look, I'll try anything once, but I do not want to be tied to a pillar and left to die.
Yeah.
And eaten by wild beasts or carrion.
Whoever. They're all out there,
Whoever.
you know?
All right, my next one, St. Lawrence. He is the patron saint of comedians because, all right, he was a 3rd century deacon in the city of Rome.
Yeah.
And so under Pope Sixtus II, martyred by Roman Emperor Valerian in 258, and they were burning him alive on a spit. That's how they chose to do it.
Not a good way to go.
And he famously said to them, I'm well done on this side. Turn me over. Yeah, that's right. This guy got off.
Hell, you got a final warning shot off.
Yep.
Across the bow.
Hilarious. So obviously he's the patron saint of comedians, but also of cooks and chefs. Because there's that sense of humor we're seeing from the process of sainthood. Again, they're like, because he was like,
you get it,
burned on a spit.
A little bit of that medium rare long
roasted.
pig, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
They are good setup and punchlines.
Yeah.
This one's Saint Gummarus.
I've been calling him Gummarus.
Gummarus. That sounds better.
I think it's funny to just say I think Gummarus sounds the funniest.
Yes.
So we should go with it.
Saint Gummarus. He's the patron saint of difficult marriages. Boy, not a good one to have.
Yeah.
You know?
They're like, this guy's wife hated him. Let's
pray to him.
memorialize that in some way.
Yeah, if your wife hates you, we got you a guy. Which I guess is an important guy to have.
Yeah, she was.
He had by all accounts, a historically bad marriage. Since we were talking about it 1,600 years later, that's an all-timer.
Yeah.
But then, so he had this terrible marriage. Everyone knew. They fought in public all constantly, and then he was sent off to war.
Made everybody uncomfortable.
Made everybody
at Olive
uncomfortable. Yeah. I can't enjoy my infinite breadsticks.
Yeah.
With the tension at the table. You know?
Yeah, it's very. They say, we'll talk about it in the car a lot, you know? And everyone's like, oh, God.
Oh, geez.
Oh, God.
When
how
you're
long?
uncomfortable and you drink 7 teas.
You're like, oh, God.
My hand needs to keep moving because I'm uncomfortable.
They're both quietly seething and the appetizers haven't even come out yet. You're like, fuck, we have got to remember this next time we're making plans with them. This is
a nightmare. Look at these Gummaruses.
Look at these. Look, Gummarus, you gotta. Oh, and his wife, what was his wife's name? It was Gwen Marie.
Yeah, sweet name.
Gummarus and Gwen Marie are so
little
great
too close
individually.
Yeah,
but when you get them together, it's like
the gummies they called them.
They just
But so he went off to war and came back years later, and his wife was still terrible. But he
he's like, rats. I was hoping she would change.
I was hoping she'd be dead. God dang it. But
we're dead. We're dead.
He very piously corrected all the things she messed up with, the servants and things, and then paid all her debts around town. And then only after he did that did they separate, which I thought was frowned upon in the Catholic circles. Class move. And then he became a hermit and died alone. Mm-hmm. Which
very godly.
Very godly. What's your solution to a bad marriage? It's just hey, tough it out, go to war, and then find you a shack on a hill, you know?
Yeah.
Just go fishing.
I don't know. You have to, you do have to imagine when you're gone for any amount of time and you come back and everyone you know isn't dead, you're a little surprised. Just it being the ancient world. Ooh. You're like, there's so many ways to die, you know?
Yeah. Some of y'all. But please, take my wife.
Take my wife, please. Hey. He was the first. He's the patron saint of Henny Youngman as well. Gummarus. Gummarus was, Henny Youngman was just doing Gummarus,
That's
really. When it comes down to it.
Everything's hacky. You just got to know where they're getting it from. You know?
Nothing's new. Nothing's new. We've been complaining about our wives,
for a long, long time. Thousands of years.
The only thing is Gummarus saw the error of his ways.
Yeah.
He was like, it was wrong to tell people to take my wife, please. I have to make penance for
I need to go. I'm going to go be by myself for a while.
And that's why he's a saint.
Yeah.
Oh, Gummarus.
I wish I got credit for wanting some me time, They don't do that. That doesn't happen in modern marriages.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you're going to say, but Gummarus and Gwen Marie have asked us to dinner on Friday. And I'm I've made up so many excuses. We have to go this time. Can you imagine getting home from work and be like, your wife's like, Gummarus and Gwen Marie, they've really backed us into a corner where we're going to an escape room. I tried to talk him out of it. There was no talking him out of it. My next one, Saint-Denis. Saint-Denis del Paris. He has a candlestick from the film. That guy's name was what was the candlestick's name?
I forget the candlestick.
I'm not going on until we remember this candlestick's name. It was very French. No, Saint-Denis, he was a 3rd century Christian martyr, the Bishop of Paris. He's another one. He could very well be the patron saint of comedians. I guess it's just a difference of material. But what he did was Lumiere. Oh, you want to have your minds blown? I did not remember this, and it blew my mind.
Yeah. You want your mind blown, kids?
Lumiere, the French candlestick from Beauty and the Beast, was played by Jerry Orbach, the detective from Law and Order.
Really?
Yes. That was Jerry Orbach doing a French accent. Like, yeah, guys, that was Jerry Orbach, the tough ass,
like everyone gets
alcoholic cop.
Everyone gets mad at Hank Azaria now for doing Apu. They're like, come on, you can find an Indian guy. It's like, no, but we got one guy that can do 14 of the voices.
Yeah, and I mean, what a decision! What Jerry Orbach of all people, I would have never guessed that in a million years. But Saint-Denis,
he's got a good agent.
Saint-Denis, the Lumiere of saints. I'm just saying that because he's French. He was executed by decapitation around 250 A.D. That's a drag by Emperor Decius. He had a persecution.
Yeah.
They decapitated him, but then Saint-Denis picked up his head and carried it for several miles while his head was preaching.
Continue delivering the sermon
about repentance. How Christian is that shit? Top that. None of y'all got shit on Saint-Denis.
Eat that, Protestants. What do you got? All right.
I like to think when he was finally done preaching, he like punted his own head and then just fell cartoonishly. He was like, boom.
This is part of Catholicism that I enjoy, that I feel like doesn't get talked about much anymore.
The head carrying
is the excellent fantasy element to it all. Like the angels and demons, and there's magic and witches.
Yes, and get this. This is such a thing that carrying one's head after having your head chopped off is such a thing that there's a word for it. It's cephalophore.
Cephalophore.
A cephalophore. Is
now a makeup
around,
store.
I guess, with their own head.
Yeah, hell yeah. We're just like,
how crazy is that?
There's your fun fact for the day, everybody. Cephalophore,
anchorite. We're learning. This is Sesame Street now. We have words of the day.
This is like if you need Sesame Street for adult dumb guys.
I think that's our.
That's our.
I think
pitch
that's a pretty good description of our brand.
This saint is Saint Erasmus. He's the patron saint of stomach ailments,
aka Saint Elmo, right?
Yeah,
that's his aka from fire fame.
So he. Another Roman one. He was, a Christian guy, so they killed him, but he was beaten, whipped, and then he was placed in a barrel of spikes and rolled down a hill.
That is excessive.
That is excessive. A little Donkey Kong-ish. I'm here for it. I'm not going to lie to you. But then he survived the rolling down the hill in the spiked barrel. And so they just set the barrel on fire.
He's Will Ferrell from the beginning of Austin Powers. It's like,
but
I'm still alive, but I'm very badly burned.
So he did this because he crawled out of the burning barrel and was still alive. This is literally the Will Ferrell character from Austin Powers.
Or the knight from Monty Python.
'Tis a flesh wound. And so he what they did then to really seal the deal is they cut his stomach open and put his intestines on a winch and then just cranked him out of his body.
Yeah.
And so for that, he is now the patron saint of tummy aches.
Yep, he earned that one.
Boy, did he.
That's a crazy way to die.
That is not a good way to
The old
die.
intestines around the winch.
The old beaten, whipped, rolled down in a barrel full of spikes, caught on fire, and then cut open.
Yeah.
No good. No good.
What do you think they were? Do you think that was like they had more ideas after that? Like if the winch doesn't work, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they had 3 guys at a drawing board, just like, holy shit, these motherfuckers alive still?
Yeah. Yeah, incredible. Such a Wile E. Coyote.
Series of events.
If he ever got his hands on the Roadrunner,
Yeah.
roll.
Yeah, this is what the fate that would have fell upon the Roadrunner if he was ever caught.
But instead, he just got martyred in a way that would lead to him being the patron saint of stomach aches. Okay, how about Saint Agatha? Here's the thing with Saint Agatha. She was also killed in the Decian persecution along with Saint Denis.
One of my favorite periods of persecution.
It's one of the top 5, for sure. She was a 3rd century Christian saint, like so many we have here. They send her to prison for refusing the advances of a high-ranking Roman fella and cut her breasts off, but then they were miraculously restored. Couldn't get them boobs gone.
Yeah.
And then, so she's patron saint of diseases of the breast and wet nurses, among other things. So if it's boobs.
Real catch-all.
If it's boobs, Saint Agatha is your lady. She is also the patron saint of Hooters waitresses and hot body contestants.
Yeah. What was the Hawaiian Tropics models? That's all Saint Agatha,
Yeah.
And then mine's also breastfeeding related. They have a specific, not just wet nurses, they have a specific saint of breastfeeding, and it's a Saint Giles. And he was a hermit in France, another hermit. I was hermit heavy on this.
Yeah. A lot of hermits.
Yeah, a lot of them back then.
Look, if you were a Christian early on, you were doing some hermiting.
Oh, yeah. You were anchor riding,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
you were
a verb.
spending some time in some hermitages.
But so he didn't have food in his little shack. And so he survived only off of breastfeeding off of a female deer.
A deer, a female deer.
And so now he is the patron saint of breastfeeding, which I think this is just an old-timey Catholic thing. Feels like that one should be a lady,
Yeah.
They were just like, I don't know, this guy did it.
It's fun to imagine the visual. You know?
Like, if a deer can do it, are we really going to put a lady as the saint of it, Who did it best?
Yeah. That one, look, sometimes you got to suckle at a deer's tit. That's just a fact of nature.
Yeah.
We've all seen the show Alone. They all end up suckling
They
deer
all
tits.
do. If you can catch them,
It's the only way to
you
survive
earned
sometimes.
it. You earned it,
Actually, I'm surprised we haven't seen that on Alone. Someone breastfeeding off something crazy. Or have you seen the show Outlast on Netflix?
Yes.
It's like Alone, but pettier.
God, what a move on one of those survival shows, like Alone or Outlast. If they had a lady that was currently producing breast milk,
Yeah.
and she just teamed up,
Game
and
changer.
it was like secret about it, or like on Survivor, so it could be a team thing.
Hell yeah.
And then you got your milk cow over here. We're going to the ship, all right? We're
Just hear from off camera. Stop calling me that. You're like, yeah, there's some dissension in the team.
we've got some squabbles we got to figure out, but the team's never been stronger, I have a joke about it where I've sampled my wife's wares of her breast milk, and it's just like sweet milk. Right. I feel like most people have. If they haven't, they're lying to you.
Yeah.
Or I'm just justifying it. But they don't tell you that in sex ed that women have Cinnamon Toast Crunch titties,
They do not.
They do not.
They do not.
They'd be ramping up teenage pregnancies if they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the milk after the cereal. It's fantastic.
Who doesn't crave those crazy squares? All right, yeah, I'll do my next one. Saint Smithin.
Smithin.
Saint Smithin of Saint Swithin's Day. the patron saint of the Winchester Cathedral in England, and the weather. He lived from 800 to 863. He only has one miracle, and I thought it was a pretty good miracle.
Yeah.
You see, what happened was an old woman.
What had happened
was this old woman had a bunch of eggs on a bridge. This old lady had a bunch of eggs on a bridge. I don't know where on a bridge. It's really lacking on details, this story. But she had a bunch of eggs on a bridge, and nearby some builders were working on a church, and the builders broke the eggs, and then Saint Smithin came by and miraculously restored the eggs.
Wasn't it called like the Wilshire Bridge miracle or something?
Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me if it was.
But yeah, again, reminds me of I saw Jesus' face in Toast Ladies nowadays, where this wasn't historically that different. Time has given us perspective to allow this to have happened, you know?
Yeah.
Where if someone today was like, a miracle's occurred, we'd just be like, shut up, Tom.
Yeah. I like to think he really took up his own argument. Like he went to the church and was like, it's a miracle. It counts as, and they're like, yeah, but eggs, like, what's that?
Come on, man.
He's like, yeah.
It's like, we've been talking about it. We need an egg guy.
He's like, can you magically put eggs back together?
Yeah. I'm the egg man now.
I'm the one. I did the miracle. Saint Rita's the patroness of impossible causes because she had a really crappy life. She was married when she was 12 against her wishes to a petty man, and she eventually made this man a good man, but he was in a family feud with another family, and that family eventually murdered him. And then she prayed. Her sons wanted revenge, but she didn't want them to get revenge because she was a godly woman, so she prayed that they wouldn't go down the same path. And then her sons died of dysentery,
which is one of those catch-22s of like, like the monkey's paw.
Yeah,
where it's like they didn't get their revenge you prayed for.
No, it is, and that's how it's officially read. Is that it's like it was God's intervention to keep them from being so. What is it? Her kids died. She lived a saintly life for the rest of her life. The part of her story I loved was there's a subsection in her Wikipedia called The Bees. And apparently, as a baby, the day after her baptism, a swarm of white bees her parents noticed bees were swarming all over her.
Yeah.
And they watched as the bees were crawling in and out of her mouth without stinging her. And rather than being scared by this, they were like mystified, and it was read to be taken to indicate the child's career would be marked by industry, virtue, and devotion.
Good.
Which is that's about the best result, I think, when you see your baby covered in bees. They're just telling us that it's going to have a good career.
He's going to be a businessman.
And I got to imagine that is a hard part of being a young parent, is differentiating between times when your baby's covered in bees and it's okay, and times when it's bad. They're regular bees, and you wouldn't want them crawling on your baby, you know?
I do hate that. As a new parent myself, it's hard to distinguish the two.
I've got to imagine, yeah.
But yeah, that's a good one to end on. Just the patron saint of impossible causes is she just went through so much shit that they were officially like, yeesh, that sucked.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you can be the saint of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I also briefly considered our guy Saint Nicholas, just because of the time of year it is.
Yeah.
He was an early Christian bishop of Greek descent, but his story that I think I've read this before, but okay, his story of one of his miracles, or like one of the things that is legendary about him, was his he heard of a man who lost all his money due to the plotting and envy of Satan.
Okay.
Which, same.
Been there, brother.
He had 3 daughters, but so all of them were going to have to become prostitutes because they didn't have a dowry because the guy had lost all his money. So St. Nicholas threw a bag of gold in their window, and the guy was able to use the gold to sell off or marry off his one daughter, and then he threw another sack of gold through the window, on and on. So so he kept them off the streets. St. Nicholas did.
I'd like that story more if one of them still had to be a prostitute.
And so now he was like, look, I only have so much gold.
You think I'm made of sacks of gold? Like, I'm old Saint Nick.
So he is patron saint of unmarried people.
Hell yeah.
Saint Nick.
I do like that they
Saint
all like
Nicholas.
have 30 things they're saints of.
Yeah, it's very fun. It's fun to...
It's like children, unmarried people, giving, Christmas. Like, he's just got 20 things that you can kind of loosely attach to any of his stories.
Yeah.
But that's good, you know? The Bible's about how you interpret it. Not the Bible, that's just history stuff, I suppose. But yeah, Catholics are funny. They're silly. They have weird traditions. God bless them.
They've been around for so long.
Long.
They've been at it.
I have a theory that Catholics have been around for so long that we quit thinking of them as silly. And the Mormons, boy, do they get a pass when Scientology got big.
Yeah.
Scientology's the latest new one. And I feel like the Mormons, as the previous new weirdos, really were like when the kid that gets bullied, like a new weirder kid moves to school and then he starts bullying him real hard.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, look at this guy. Isn't that weird? Huh?
Yep.
Xenu, right?
New fattest kid in school.
Yeah, that guy's a little fatter than me.
The old champions leading the charge. Yeah.
But yeah.
Good times.
We're doing our annual physicals for the fire department.
Nice.
And it cracks me up. We have a new like company that's doing them for us, where they're actually pass fail now, where you can be like too fat and out of shape to be a fireman.
Oh no.
Yeah, which is going to be a problem for a larger percentage, I'd like to admit, of the fire department. But it cracked me up because our old one, I think they tried this like 10 years ago, but like too many people failed, and they were like, we can't just like shut down a fourth of the city because you fucking dickheads smoke too much.
Yeah.
And so they went away from actually having like an
just lowering the bar.
They did. Or no, and so they kept finding different doctors, and our latest doctor that I went to a few times would pass anybody.
It's Dr. Nick from The Simpsons.
It literally was Dr. Nick.
He went to upstairs Hollywood Medical College.
But this guy, my cholesterol's been high, but it was like 200 or something. And then he gets me back there, and we do like a stress test for your VO2 max and stuff. And I'm in like decent shape, but nothing crazy. And he sees me in there, and he's like, "Nice, you look great." I'm like, "What?" So we're like, he pulls out my sheet, and he's like, "Number's great. That test is bullshit. We don't even look at it." And then he was like, "Cholesterol." He was like, "Dude, just a number. Like, we don't even really understand it. Like, about lipid pain. Like, I feel like me and him listened to the same episode of Joe Rogan where they talked about statin drugs." And I was like, "Hell yeah, brother. Same page, dude." And then he literally said to me, he was like, "God, like, if you told me you were going to the Olympics this year, I'd believe you. That you were the picture of health."
I love this doctor.
Like,
he is the damn best.
and so you kind of walk out of there with like your chest puffed out.
Yeah.
And there was like old guys that he'd be like, "God damn, you're in excellent shape." And they clearly weren't. They were like middle-aged fat dudes. And people would be like, how do I get you as my regular primary care?"
Truly.
Like, I just need a doctor that tells me things I like.
I just want to feel
and then I die
good.
happy. You know?
Exactly.
That's the placebo effect. He's like, "Hell yeah, I'm healthy as a horse."
Yeah.
Good. But that cracked me up, because we actually have a real one now where
And they're
people
like,
are
what's this guy's fucking problem?
this fucking nerd over here telling me I need to take lisinopril. That's bullshit.
Like an asshole. Can you believe that?
But no, we did it all. We did like CT scans, like 9 blood draws. Damn. We had a bad exposure at like a fire in an AT&T building with like goofy metals and stuff.
Oh shit.
And so they're like, 40 of us all got to the front of the line for the physicals. So pretty cool.
Like, we got to see if there's any shit in your lungs.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it happens. It's part of the job.
Yeah.
But that was a real funny rant we went on.
Just like burrito fires at the silo.
There was someone asking me in the lobby of this place because he was just a very fucking chatty guy, and I was like, "All right, I'm doing it." And he was like, "You fire?" I was about to guess you're a fireman, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm a fireman," because I had the hat on. And he was like, "Hey, I watched like Chicago Fire and those shows." He was like, "Are those real? Which one's like the realest one?" And I, with a straight face, told him, I was like, "Have you seen Lone Star 911?" And he was like, "I think I've seen an episode or two." And I was like, "That's the most realistic one.
That's
like
fucking hilarious.
All the calls on it, like I've seen them all."
That's amazing. So hell yeah. Hell yeah. Cheers to the presence of mind to be like, what's the best one?
Lone Star 911. And he was like, "Rob Lowe." And I was like, "Rob Lowe."
Rob Lowe.
He's
Dude,
like my
he
captain.
Gets it. I heard he really visited a firehouse before they started making that show. Several times even.
Exactly.
He hung out there. He petted the dog. Do y'all still have Dalmatians sometimes?
No, we have that's not a common thing. It's like the city doesn't care if it's all the guys, but we have Rue, a little black lab.
Ah,
yeah. She's
so you have station dogs? Is that it, the idea? Like it lives at the station?
Well, it's just Kane's dog, and he lives at the station.
Yeah.
So the dog also does.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Divorce probably works a little too much, But
fair, it happens to the best.
He's a great dude.
Yeah, good times.
You got anything going on?
Shit. I watched. I was listening to a radio show this week. I'll listen to old radio shows to go to sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
They have like the old detective or horror radio shows. And I was listening to one I had never heard before. It's Nick Carter, Master Detective. All right. It's a
Any affiliation with Nick Carter?
No affiliation.
Okay.
No, can't stress that enough after what we've learned about Nick Carter
After that
on this
documentary
podcast.
series.
My God.
Boy, Nick Carter, you piece of work.
But it was cracking me up because the episode I was listening to was Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Missing Babies.
Ooh.
And so it was a serious subject matter. Babies were being kidnapped and then sold.
And then eaten by Terrar.
And being eaten by Terrar, the madman.
We're just self-referencing all of our episodes now.
That's right. Link in.
I'm probably not going to do it, but I don't know how to use
Go find it.
I don't know how to use the cards on YouTube yet, so you just got to find it.
Exactly. Look,
They'll figure it out.
meet us halfway. Come on. Be cool.
Be cool about this.
But so there was this exchange in the beginning of it that made me laugh. So I kept rewinding it. But so this woman comes in and she's like, my baby's missing. And she's telling Nick Carter, Master Detective, all about it. And he goes, I'm afraid you've fallen victim to a new and vicious racket. That of baby selling.
Oh, no.
No, he goes, that of selling babies.
Yeah.
And she goes, selling babies? And he goes, yes, selling babies. I was dead.
Pretty direct. It's straightforward.
And then he explains that they're dealing with a new type of criminal, one who deals in selling babies. Like he kept saying selling babies so much that I was convinced like it was a bit that they were trying to see how many times they could say selling babies.
Yeah. Want me to call him chicken fucker?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A new and vicious racket, that of selling babies. Selling babies? Yes, selling babies.
By a new type of criminal who is selling
Deals
babies.
and selling babies.
So you got to use like the language right to say selling babies, not who sells babies.
Yeah.
That's on purpose.
He's damn good.
And I'm here for it. Nick Carter. Did you hear? Have you ever seen the podcast to help you go to sleep? That's pretend minor league baseball games from the past.
Oh no, that sounds amazing though.
They have there's like 50. It can't be. You don't need a new one.
Yeah.
You can't. You put 20 out and that's it. But he literally
So
has
true.
a pretend minor league baseball team from like the 80s, and just announces their games. Like
That sounds awesome.
It's interesting.
That sounds good. That sounds like good to
Yeah.
sleep to. You could do the same thing with like a golf tournament. You could just make up a golf tournament.
Yeah.
I bet if you had the sounds, like, it
Or
would
just
be
go do an
wonderful.
old one and just change the name so you don't get in trouble with PGA.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed that concept. We do family game night with my in-laws,
Nice.
and
Love
we were.
a game.
You ever heard of Pictionary Man?
I have not.
It's like Pictionary, but there's a little like dry erase fella you can draw on. Just looks like a little white guy. And we were playing it, and I love when it gets competitive. And it had a bunch of silly ones where it's like everyone's worst sides showed. Where the two brothers, he got like, okay, celebrity. And then he drew a glass, 3 lines with wavy on the top. So a glass of water. And then the other brother just goes, Bill Cosby. And then he goes, nailed it. So he just drew a glass of water. And the first thing out of the other brother's mouth was Bill Cosby.
That's crazy.
So you're like, you got to bring your A game, all right? Like the knives are out.
Truly.
Like you need to show up. And so I got one, and it was me and my mother-in-law just had to do some old-fashioned sexism, you know? All the younger ladies at the table weren't going to get this one. So I looked like directly at her because mine was dental hygienist. How do you draw a dental hygienist, you know?
Yeah.
So I drew like a big smile on the guy's face and kind of pointed at it, and they're like, smile, teeth, dentist, and they went dentist. And then I was like, oh, what do I do next? And then I drew boobs on the body. And the mom just goes, dental hygienist. And I was like, nailed it. Because pretty much my guess was just like a dentist, but a lady. You guys know. So, yeah.
It's called getting the dub.
It's called winning.
It's called bringing home the bacon.
They got it. They're all successful ladies. They know I didn't mean it. But then the youngest brother, he's 20. He gets one. He's like, okay, an athlete. And he goes, okay. And so he takes the face and colors the face in with a black marker. And so we go, okay, it's a black guy. And he's like, black guy, deal. And then he draws a baseball bat. Start naming black baseball players. We go, right. Barry Bonds, Bo Jackson. You know, who do we got? You got like 6 names down. And he's like, no. And then one of the girlfriends just doesn't know any baseball players and just throws out the 2 she knows and just goes, Babe Ruth. And he goes, nailed it. And we all stopped like, do you think Babe Ruth is a black guy? And he was like, yeah, he for sure was. And I was like, he literally played prior to them being allowed in the league. Mm-hmm. But that was our family Pictionary. And Matt, the youngest
Sounds
one.
hotly contested.
A lot of racism and sexism happening, you know. They're a Hispanic family, so that counts for something, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
He had another one. We were on a trip, and there was presidents on the wall, and he looked at one and went, I recognize that guy. And I'm older than him, and I just go like, he's a college student.
Yeah.
And I go, well, Matt, that's Teddy Roosevelt, famous U.S. president. And he goes, where do I know him from? And he goes, oh, yeah, a night at the museum. And I was like, God damn it. So that speaks to the quality of education happening at OU. I don't know what else does.
Robin Williams did do a great job.
He did a great job. Rest in peace.
Playing Teddy Roosevelt.
You got any closing thoughts or remarks?
Appreciate that. Yeah, hey, here's a thought I had.
Okay.
Taco Bell can get so far the fuck out of here with that $7 box that they're like, it's like the 90s again. Spending $7 at Taco Bell in the 90s would have been unthinkable. You physically couldn't do it. You would buy everything you could dream of wanting, and it would be $5.96.
Yeah.
Those sons of
bitches.
If you did order $7 at Taco Bell, you'd be ostracized from decent society, stoned,
you'd be
driven
forced
from town
to live as a hermit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And then
driven
you'd be killed by townspeople.
We'd take out your intestines and put them around a winch.
And then you'd be the patron saint of tacos.
And then we'd eat all that Taco Bell you ordered.
Just to show you.
Just to really drive home our point, which we forget what that was at this point. We really just went, we never liked that guy anyway, so we really just kind of went crazy. A lot of that wasn't even about the spending $7 at Taco Bell.
We all got fired up. The mayor did something shitty, and we were all just mad at a meeting, and then you walked by with too much Taco Bell.
Yeah.
we cut your organs out. So.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
The folly to be human.
Yeah.
But I got shows coming up. I'll be at Big Laugh Comedy Club in Fort Worth, headlining the Comedy Kickback show. It's got a bunch of good local comedians and a lady from Boston that'll be on it.
Hell yeah.
That's next Thursday, December 19th. And then I'll be doing the stand-up standoff on December 28th at the Dallas Comedy Club. It's like an at midnight style show with like a Western theme. It's
Super
very
fun.
funny. Scott did the one
Yeah.
last month.
Very fun.
Did you have a good time?
I did. I had a blast. It's
Yeah.
really fun. I like a show like that you like write for. And
Yeah,
have
they
a
give you
little-
like writers packets ahead of time. And
Yeah, it was a good time. We had a good little crowd.
yeah, they said Parker said you killed particularly.
Hell yeah.
He was like the first time he did it. I don't think the comedians took it that seriously with the writers packet.
Oh yeah.
And we're kind of just like, man, we'll just grip it and rip it. Just be funny in
Yeah.
the pocket. And then
Yeah.
you could tell they kind of fell short on a lot.
It's hard to do, man. It's hard. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
But it's a good time. Definitely go to that. Hey, have you ever noticed? I don't think I have any shows to plug. No, wait. December 31st, Cowabunga, New Year's Eve
Fillmore
at the
Pub.
Fillmore.
Hell yeah.
Have you ever noticed that all the people on competition dating shows, like none of them can talk about their emotions without bringing up or at least referencing the Shrek ogres are like onions speech? Watch for it. From now on, watch every competition dating show involving hot young singles.
Yeah.
They don't, if any emotional depth or complex, they always say I'm like an onion, like every
Yeah.
time. Watch for it.
It's our
driving-
childhood now. We all have a thing that we can reference our emotional feelings to.
Yeah,
And we just needed Mike Myers to be a big ogre, you know?
that's right. A big Scottish ogre with
I can't do the dating ones. I will do.
Oh, yeah.
My wife likes.
I do all the dating.
Yeah, she does 90 Day Fiance and a couple of them, but we're too engrossed in Gilmore Girls right now.
Sure.
But there are two Bravo shows I can watch without being a nuisance to her. 'Cause
Below
if, like,
Deck.
Below Deck, and Southern Charmed. Sometimes Summer House.
Never seen Southern Charm.
Yeah, it's 90%
Below Deck guy, though.
90% Craig related.
You know what I recently learned about Below Deck?
Yeah.
Below Deck was made by, I went way too deep. We were watching Rock of Love.
Yeah.
The Bret
As you
Michaels.
do.
A horrible show by every measure. How has no one been prosecuted for that show? It is the worst. Every challenge is like, all right, ladies, you got the one who can euthanize the most dogs in the next minute
Yeah.
wins a
Yeah.
date with me to Dave and Buster to have some rockin' grub and games.
Bonus
And then all the way.
bonus points if you take your tops off.
Yeah. And then the women are like, I love dogs, but I have not got a lot of one-on-one time with Brett. It just makes you feel bad to watch.
Yeah.
But so I was watching that, and I was reading about the history of like the show, and what happened was there was like Megan on one of the seasons, and then they made a show, I think, where she was the person
Yeah.
picking. So it was like Megan of Love, maybe, probably. That's what they called it.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the guys on that show he got married to his wife and to a lady who was also in reality TV, and then murdered her.
Yeah.
And then so the guy who ran the production company, he was like, that was kind of the end of his production company because they were poison after that.
Yeah.
Nobody would touch them. And then he resurfaced with his new company, and they're now behind Below Deck.
There you go.
A new favorite.
Fun story. You know, thank you, Rock of Love.
Of murder.
for bringing
And
us-
the funny thing too is Megan, she's quoted and she's like, the crazy thing is I really wanted to pick him too. Like, he was gonna win for
Yeah.
sure.
What's that new Anna Kendrick movie where they pick the killer? Too much.
Oh.
It's good.
Wait, no, I know about this. I think I don't think I've seen the movie, but I think I know
I
what
watched
you're
it
talking about.
a week ago, and I can't remember the name of it. But it was like that, having a serial killer on a dating show, and they pick him.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was like based on a true story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ted Bundy was on a dating show.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But that's the oddball promise, is we will idle down to the end.
That's right.
So
Listen, we're gonna coast that last mile.
we're
The
at the finish line.
the last few minutes is just us walking along with our own heads, giving a sermon on repentance.
Just continuing. But until next time, let's see ya.
Au revoir.
Hail Satan.
Jimmy and Scott digging through the past. Crazy tales they uncover fast. History stranger than you think. They'll also talk about wieners in a blink. They'll talk about wieners in a blink. Oddball history.